see everyone in this nice large room that we have. We've gotten spoiled already in the last few months that we have been in the larger boardroom, and it's so cool outside. It's so wonderful. This is the Griffin-Spalding County Board of Education meeting at 6 o'clock on the 18th of June, and we'll call it to order. And if you would, make sure all of your electronic devices are on silent. And I know this one is not, so give me 1 second. And we are going to start with our prayer and pledge, and I'm sorry that I'm coming in at the last moment, so I know that this pastor will not mind if I put him on the spot for our prayer. Pastor Lacey, if you would do that for us, and then I will lead us in our pledge.
Let us pray. Eternal everlasting God, our Father, the creator of the universe, we pause at this time of the day to acknowledge that you are here with us in this space. We ask that you will lead and direct the directions of the chair and the members of our Board of Education. We appreciate them, we love them, we admire them. But right now we just ask that your blessings will fall upon us and that we will leave this place this evening with new information, greater determination to continue to educate our community and above all our children whom we love so much. For we ask it in all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And if you will join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so very much. Board members, you know that we have adopted our norms and protocols, and we have made a decision to kind of just remind us each and every meeting about those. We have 10 core value words that are a part of those norms and protocols, and tonight I just want to remind you the second one is integrity. And so as we are working together and doing the best for the children of Griffin-Spalding County, we just want to remember that. We will move then on to item number 4, which is our Spalding County School System announcements. Mr. Zachary Holmes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for this opportunity. As you can see by our agenda, we have 3 announcements. The first one, in observance of Juneteenth, Griffin-Spalding County Schools will be closed on Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. Griffin-Spalding County School District will be closed July 1 through July 1st. Also, Tuesday, July 16th, Griffin-Spalding County Board of Education will meet at 6 p.m. And may I add, not only will the offices be closed, but board members will be closed. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that. Board members, at this time, I would entertain a motion for the adoption of our agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by raising your hand. It'll be 4-0. Let the record reflect that Mr. Brown is on his way, but just has not arrived yet. Item 6, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Sue McDonald for our recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. Doss. Good evening, everyone. What an honor to be able to announce the recognition of Dr. Cleopatra Lacey in his many years of service to the Griffin-Spalding County schools and community. Dr. Lacey, Mr. Holmes.
Dr. Lacey, if you would join us up here at the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, invited guests, staff, public. It's been a minute since I've stood at this particular podium, so I'm excited about the opportunity. Please indulge me while I read just a brief portion of Dr. Lacey's biography. Dr. Cleopatra Lacey is a native of Bladenboro, North Carolina. He is the son of the late Mrs. Annie Julia Ruffin Lacey and the late Mr. Benjamin Lacey, Jr. A committed husband and father, Dr. Lacey is married to Portia H. Lacey of Richmond, Virginia. He has 2 adult children, Patrice N. Lacey Smith and Patrick B.W. Lacey. He also has a son-in-law, Jeremy Smith, and a daughter-in-law, Jamandi Dallas Lacey, along with a grandson, Jackson Jeremy Smith. He preached his initial sermon on Sunday, July 30th, 1967. He was then ordained on Sunday, December 29th, 1968. Mr. Lacey, Dr. Lacey, was called to preach at Mount Zion Baptist Church here in Griffin in September of 1977. I'll say that again. He has been serving this community, particularly at Mount Zion Baptist Church, since 1977. Dr. Lacey celebrated his 30th anniversary as pastor of Mount Zion on Saturday and Sunday, September 16th, 2007. He served his 40th pastor's appreciation on Sunday, September 17th, 2017. I'll share with you that while there is a page full of words and numbers, acclamations, rewards, honors, I am most humbled, most thrilled to simply be a part of the acknowledgement and the recognition bestowed upon him by this school system and this Board of Education. I arrived humbly in 2010. I met Dr. Lacey the same year with a hug and a message of love. Simply stated, he encouraged me to put my best foot forward because not only did he love me, but God loved me more, and had not God wanted me to be here and do the work that I was called to do, I wouldn't be here. So rest assured that I would be okay. I took that message not only with me every day at Griffin High School, I took it with me everywhere since that day. On this day, Dr. Lacey, Mrs. Lacey, family members, guests, we simply want to acknowledge, as I've said to you on more than one occasion, both publicly and privately, I truly believe that this community is better because you live in it. I believe that the lives of people in this community have been impacted way more than you'll ever understand, way more than I can pronounce. But we are humbly and profoundly thankful for your presence, for your prayers, for your love and sharing of your family and sharing of your talents for the betterment of us as a people and as a community. Board members, at this time, I would invite you, if you have any words for Dr. Lacey before I start hugging and loving.
What I would like to simply say, I'm honored. He know how much I think of him and Mama Lacey. Not to tell my age, but I was a high school student when he came in 1977. He actually spoke at our high school senior graduation ceremony. And I've been just an admirer from a distance, but now I had the privilege of being up close. So close that I simply call him Daddy Lacey, because I introduce and tell people he's the father of ministry in Griffin-Spalding County, because he's the longest serving pastor in this community. And he always make the correction that he's not the oldest, but he's the longest serving. And so I have to put that out, because he will correct me on that. But Pastor Lacey, Mama Lacey, it is my honor, and I thank our superintendent and our chair for obliging me and getting this on our agenda and doing this on behalf of the school system, because Miss Lacey, she's been a member of this family for a long time, and as well as all the work Dr. Lacey has done in the schools and in our community. So I just want to personally acknowledge him in front of who all is present, whoever may be watching online. It has been a privilege, and I know this is not the end, because I know we'll continue to meet at the post office.
I've had the privilege of being able to tell Dr. Lacey this already, but I think it's bearing for everyone to hear that since 1992, when I was ordained here in Griffin-Spalding, that Pastor Lacey was a mentor from afar for me. We were in a couple of different meetings together, and he challenged us as youth pastors to do some things within the community and to be a part and to share God's love. And since 2020 has been a mentor to me in a more personal level. And so I want to say thank you publicly.
To the Reverend Dr. Cleopatrick Lacey, thank you so much for all that you have done here in Griffin-Spalding. We know that there are District 1 schools that you are very fond, well, you're fond of all of our schools in our district, but we know that there are 2 District 1 schools in particular, Moore Elementary, John Henry Moore Elementary, and Susie B. Atkinson Elementary School, where Mount Zion Baptist Church, either through rites of passage or many different ways, you guys have blessed the faculty there. You have blessed our scholars and families there. To know the Reverend Dr. Cleopatrick Lacey is to love him. I have had the pleasure of knowing him since I was born. We heard 1977. We heard you came in 1992. Well, November 6th of 1985, I was born, and I have just loved Dr. Lacey for who you are. No matter where we are, what's going on, you recognize Centel Brown, our Centel Brown, my family and everything. I do want to say that no matter where I go in this world, in these United States, if I go to a church, if I'm in Chicago at Trinity, where Otis Moss III is the pastor, if we're in Texas at Wheeler Avenue, or if we're in Augusta, or no matter where we go, they know the Reverend Dr. Cleopatrick Lacey. He is one of the greatest American pulpiteers that I have heard, seen, preach the unadulterated word of God. And so I just want to say to you, Dr. Lacey, thank you so much. To Mama Lacey, you know, I always call you. When I moved to Savannah and was over the graduation committee for the college, the first person I called was Mama Lacey. And so, Dr. Lacey and Mama Lacey, we love you very much. Thank you so much for all that you do for our community. We know that this is not the end. They say that the best is yet to come. Thank you.
Dr. Lacey, thank you for everything that you have done for this community. It has been my pleasure to know you when you were on the Board of Trustees at Griffin Technical College. My pleasure to watch you in this community, as you have always been the voice of reason. You're calm in every situation. You've been blessed with emotional intelligence. And as Dr. Simmons said, you've made a tremendous difference, far more than you will ever realize in this community. And I will say to you that you're one of those pastors that whenever I'm in your presence, I feel the presence of the Lord. You just have that air about you. And I'm sure the Lord is saying, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thank you for all that you have done to this community. We love you and we appreciate you.
Dr. Lacey, I am not from Griffin. I think most people here know that, but I can tell you, after hearing all of this and seeing your family, and I know a lot of people in the audience are from Griffin, I want to take you to lunch one day because I feel like I would be blessed by taking you to lunch. I can tell by looking at you I would be blessed by taking you to lunch, and I want to do that. And Mama Lacey, you're welcome to come too. So please allow me to do that. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you to your family and friends for being here tonight. And just thank you for blessing the people of Griffin, especially our students, and supporting our schools. And I'll be in touch. Thank you.
And we do have members, I don't know if you've done it yet, but we do have members from Mount Zion that are present in the audience with us today as well. So if you would stand, if you're a member of Mount Zion Baptist Church. Some of our employees and former employees are members of Mount Zion.
We'll let Dr. Lacey just have a few words if you don't mind. I know a preacher's not at a loss for words.
Good evening to Dr. Simmons and to his executive staff, to all of you who have come tonight as citizens and as employees of the system, and to the city of Griffin, Georgia. When Portia and I came together as one to Mount Zion, we only had Patrice, 19 months. She's a high school, Griffin High graduate. And then came Patrick in 1981, and he also is a Griffin High graduate. They both went on to college, and I say that to say this, that Griffin-Spalding County Schools did that with Portia and I as good parents. And we always want to encourage parents to walk with their children no matter what. And the end will be a successful end. We've been under several superintendents whom I knew all of them in my tenure here. And Dr. Simmons is one that I'm very proud of and appreciative of our relationship, almost like father and son, because when you talk to these gentlemen, you find out that you're older than you think. So I want to express my deepest appreciation to the Griffin-Spalding County School System for this honor that will hang in our home, particularly in my office. And when I see it, I will think of you, pray for you, and wish the very best for you, because when you are good and excellent, it makes me and the community good and excellent. God's richest blessings be upon you. And my favorite word is, I love you. I love you dearly. And God's richest blessings upon you. Thank you so much for the honor.
Absolutely. Where would you like to go? You choose.
Let's see, we would like to,
I don't do drive-throughs, though, I'm going to tell you. Okay, sorry.
see her? Yeah. All right. 1, 2, 3. Keep smiling, we'll take it. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you being here. You get to come to lunch too now.
I send it to you.
You want to come up?
One of our members, 2 of our members taking pictures of that. Thank you all for coming.
It's great.
Oh, we don't have the internet here.
Well said.
Mr. Doss, I don't know if I can top that or not. Thank you again to the Lacey family and family and friends that were here. Mr. Doss?
All right, item number 7, public comments. Do we have anyone, Ms. Ray, that has signed up for public comments? All right.
7.
So we will bypass 8 and have a break, so we will just move right along. Board members, we're now at item 9, which is our consent agenda. What is the pleasure of this board?
So move, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor signify by raising your hand. It'll be 5-0. All right, we will now move on to our action items. Board members, you know that these have been before us for the last couple of months. and have been out in the, for the public to give any information for the last 30 days for sure. So policy BBD, what is the pleasure of this board?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by raising your hand. Be 5-0. Policy BH, the Board Code of Ethics. What is the pleasure of this board?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by raising your hand. Be 5-0. Is that 5-0, Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Okay. Policy GAMA, Drug-Free Workplace, second reading. What is the pleasure of this board?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by raising your hand. That'd be 5-0. And our last policy for the evening is GARH, Employee Leaves and Absences. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by raising your hand. It will be 5-0. All right, which brings us to our fiscal year 24 amended budget. Mr. Byron Jones.
Before Mr. Jones go up, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to make it known that I will be excusing myself right after we vote on the budget. Today is the runoff election. As a political consultant, it is a very busy day for me, as I have 5 clients that are in a runoff, and so after we vote on the budget, I will excuse myself.
Yes, sir. So noted.
Cody, if you'll go earlier in the agenda, I've got 2 other items. The FY24 amended budget. There you go. There you go. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate y'all's patience on this. We've got an action memo here, and then we've got 3 items. It's one running PDF, but the district recommends approval of the FY24 amended budget with appropriations as follows. The general fund, $118.07 million. Special revenue fund, $34.7 million. Nutrition fund, $8.595 million. As has been customary in Griffin-Spalding for years, way before myself, there's an annual amendment process, and this district has chosen to do it in the month of June traditionally. So we periodically get revenue categories, additional tax revenues, maybe more additional grants that come in that we're not planning for at the beginning of the year. Cody, if you'll run this forward just a little bit. And in these categories, function level codes, you can see where those adjustments have been made. And all this is for the general fund, and the yellow is what we're asking you to adopt. Keep going on down, Cody. Then we've got special revenue funds. And then the third document will be our nutrition funds. So with that being said, it's recommended that the Griffin-Spalding Board of Education approve the FY24 amended budget with appropriations as previously stated.
All right, board members, any questions for Mr. Jones?
I don't have a question, but I would like to highlight, I was pleased to hear Mr. Jones report how nutrition was doing, and I just want to acknowledge Mr. Wheeler and his staff for the excellent job they've been doing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely. Anyone else? All right, board members, I would then entertain a motion for the amendment of the budget for the fiscal year 24.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by raising your hand. Be 5-0. Mr. Jones, you are still up with fiscal year 25.
Got another. Go back to
That is.
Is that right? No, a document. Yes, right there.
That's 24. That's the one we just did.
We may have the wrong thing loaded.
I was going to say, when I looked at it, it was correct.
Mr. Chair, if you'll- Mr. Chair, Mayor.
Yes.
Board members, if you'll give me just a few seconds and we'll let Mrs. Ray and Cody coordinate. We may have had a document in our efforts to manually manufacture some internet connectivity. We may have gotten some documents twisted up. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Try closing one of those tabs and see if we can get it open back up. Mr. Jones, do you know any good campfire songs?
I got the mic now. I don't know. You might want to ask them about the retreat the other day.
There you go. There you go. All right, Mr. Jones, you just sing along.
What's that?
So, Mr. Jones, has there been any changes since our last meeting that we tabled this?
Change that date of the action memo.
Okay. So, board members, do you have to see those numbers since we looked at those at the last time?
You want me to just read from that?
Yeah, you can just read
Okay.
since we're familiar with that.
Okay, board members, the superintendent recommends approval of the FY25 budget with appropriations as follows. General fund, $115.5 million. Special revenue fund, $16.7 million. Nutrition fund, $9.3 million. Debt service fund, $1.395 million. And capital projects funds, $38.8 million. Board members, we've met all the regulatory requirements. We've had, I believe, 3 public hearings, 2 before the tentative budget, and it was published, 1 before the final budget, and there's been no changes since, I believe, 2 weeks ago when we met. So with that being said, it's recommended that the Griffin-Spalding Board of Education approve the FY25 budget with appropriations as previously reported.
All right, board members, what is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
And I have a second. Any further discussion?
Absolutely. Just want to say that as a elected school board member, there are 3 main responsibilities and functions that we have. 1 is to manage the superintendent, 2 is to create policy, and 3 is to pass a balanced budget. Through this particular budget, we see that we are able to budget for salaries and benefits. We're able to budget for supplies and support. We have a competitive compensation for retention payments and longevity supplements. We have positions added. We have starting salaries. We have investments per students. We have a special revenue fund. We have capital projects fund, school nutrition, and additional supports. And so with all this information, just know that this budget definitely supports what we do here in this district. It supports our scholars with their learning. It supports our teachers, and then also it supports our central office staff and our Board of Education. And so I am so glad to pass this budget so we can get back to work and making scholars here in our district. Thank you.
Any other board members? All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by raising your hand. It'd be 5-0. All right, next we have approval of pre-approved capital equipment.
So good afternoon, Chairman Doss, board members, Superintendent Dr. Simmons. At this time, Griffin-Spalding County Schools Nutrition is requesting an emergency replacement purchase for freezer compressors units at the Central Nutrition Warehouse, Taylor Street Freezer, and Futrell Road Elementary Schools. These items will be purchased from TWC Services at a cost not to exceed $90,046. These amounts does include installation and services. Little background, the warehouse and Taylor Street locations will be used to store the commodities that we receive from the federal government. We also have a new grant where we're going to be putting in local foods for farmers, and you take something like 1,000 pounds of fresh collards, and you don't want to put that in a school because you have to clean all that stuff. So that's why the Taylor Street unit will be essential to that new grant. So it is at this time, the recommendation is that the Griffin-Spalding County School Board of Education approves the emergency replacement purchases for freezer compressor units at the Central Nutrition Warehouse, Taylor Street, and Futrell Road Elementary Schools. We're going to be purchasing these from TWC Services in an amount not to exceed $90,046.
All right, board members, what is the pleasure of this board? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Doss. Mr. Wheeler, I just had a quick question about, I know it says recommended that GSCS approve the emergency replacement purchases of the compressor units. Would it be best to get the compressor units or just buy new equipment in general too? I mean, I don't know how old that equipment is down on Taylor Street.
Okay, so the compressor units are the condensing units on top of the building.
Okay.
All right, those actual walk-in freezers are millions of dollars. So we're just replacing that unit piece that's
Okay.
worn over time or
Okay.
no longer effective.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Doss.
All right. Do I have a motion?
So move, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by raising right hand. All right. Vote will be 4-0. Let the record reflect that Mr. Brown had to excuse himself for work purposes. Thank you, Ms. Wheeler. Various service agreements, continuations, fiscal year 25. Mr. Ballard?
Good evening, Chairman Dawes, board members, Dr. Simmons. Coming to you tonight for another presentation of a number of items that we have in store with for the maintenance program over the years. As we come toward the end of the year, we have lots of contracts. We have lots of different companies that provides us with services and work. So we try to give you a summary to kind of finish up what we're expecting for the next year, how it ties in with our budget, and the information that is there to go along with that. We do go through the process and bid out projects and services that are needed as we go through. But at times there are times we get together and we talk about the needs and where we are in today's world with some of the services that we've been provided and what we're looking at. And sometimes we decide to go ahead and renew a contract with them. An example of that is like with our loan service agreement. We have been working with our loan service crews for several years. We had a little rough time here a year or so ago, but they have come around and have been serving us well over the past year. And frankly, when you go out there and you look at the services that are available currently and just the increase in cost out there, and when you look at that, it's a moment you have to make a decision. If I put it back out, is it going to really cost me more than it's costing now? So a few of these are situations like that where we feel like we've been able, need to stick with them because that'll be our best bang for our buck as we move forward. On the items I have listed out here, we basically, there's only a couple of new contracts or contractors that are mentioned, and I had made note of some of this in the fact that a couple of new ones that are there are a question mark by those names. Here, Carter and Atlantic Pitt. That was a company. Atlantic Pitt had served us and actually took care of the grease traps throughout the school system for years. And then several years ago, there were some changes with the city, and they stopped allowing them to dump at the Cabin Creek plant. And so at that time, they said that they just weren't able to service us anymore. And we have had another couple of companies along the way just kind of take care of immediate needs. But that's a service that at the kitchens, even though we don't have fryers anymore in the kitchens and we don't produce a lot of grease, it still has to be serviced because there is grease from the food and stuff that's there that we dispose of. So with that, it's a situation, and that one is on there. We had rebid that, and Atlantic Pitt has now been purchased by Carter, but they were the lowest price of the companies that are doing that, but they were about half the price of the others. So we were just trying to verify that they really can do that for that much cheaper. But we also put that on there because to try to help Mr. Wheeler and the nutrition department out. They don't have a contract in hand at the moment that they are already presented. We are still, as far as the maintenance department, we still take care of the culinary arts programs. So at Spalding High, Griffin High, and at GRCCA, the little culinary kitchens we have there have grease traps too. Maintenance handles those, so we take a part of that. So we were able to include this here tonight for both our portion of it for what we do, as well as for Mr. Wheeler's, where we can hopefully go ahead and move forward and getting that done this summer for all of his grease traps at the kitchens as well. We also had noted Munis. Of course, you've heard of Munis for a good bit over the past year. It's a company that we're moving over to that new financial system, and we're also at the moment working with them to move over to their work order and computerized maintenance management system. That's something that's a process. We're getting very close with that process, and we feel like we're going to be on board for July 1st and to start that. But I had them listed as a question mark because, again, we were working on this, and we weren't sure, so we wanted to be sure that we did have a program that we could keep going forward with work orders if there was any bumps in the road with the system. And then the last one there was Wells Septic. Again, that is a company that right now we were still waiting on 2 other prices from septic systems or septic companies to do our sewer tank pumping. Wells was within our budget, and so we have them listed down there, but we put them as a question mark because we were still getting those other 2 prices. If they came in lower, of course, we would go to the lower price. So I wanted to just point those out because that kind of tied across to between maintenance and nutrition, and were a couple that had a question mark in the list. Otherwise, the various items, various companies that are listed, again, are companies that we have already been working with. and their prices were either the same or just slightly different than what it was last year, and this all falls within the budget that was just approved. So with that, we would recommend tonight, when we get to the bottom of this long list, that the Griffin-Spalding County Board of Education extend the noted service agreements and pricing for FY 2025.
All right, any questions for Mr. Bailey? All right, I will take that motion. Thank you for that. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by raising your hand. All right, that will be 4-0. Our building A tile and flooring purchase.
Okay. So we did have one other action item for you tonight, and that comes into place here with the work we're doing here on at this building. You know that we've been trying to go through and kind of move things along. And so we have been working on and have gotten pricing now. Had it laid out in two separate bid scenarios, one for ceramic tile to replace tile in the restrooms in this facility. And then we also looked at taking care of replacing the carpet down the hallways and stuff with a product more like this LVP plank looking flooring that we have down to kind of bring it around. Most of you know that we kind of, as we worked through and did the renovations at the HR Finance building, we took measures there to kind of set a little bit of a new standard here to make it a little nicer, and that was kind of set the bar to kind of what we were wanting to do for the remainder of this campus. So that's what we're looking at. The products that we're using there for the flooring and the tile that we had there and the other elements and stuff that will go into the restroom renovation and everything will be like what we had already done at HR and Finance. But with that, we took bids and got the flooring prices and stuff. And like I say, we bid it out because oftentimes ceramic tiles, we'll get price from a company that just does ceramic tiles and a company that just does LVT and carpet and so forth. But in this particular case, after getting the prices in, the lowest price for both that we received was from Zebulon Floor Covering, which was the company that did the work at the HR Finance building. So again, helps us with the consistency and keep things the same and the same quality of work. So with that being said, and this is still being covered will be covered from Splash 3. You will recall that we've been working through Splash 3 and 4 for this campus. We are basically finished with 4. And so this work will be coming from Splash 3. And so with that, Griffin-Spalding County, we recommend the Griffin-Spalding County Board of Education approve base bid of $35,348.76 for the ceramic tile and $65,759.44 for the other identified flooring needs as read on there, submitted by Zebulon Floor Covering.
All right, board members, any questions? Hearing none, I entertain a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. All right, be 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10 will be substitutes for the UVA schools. Good evening, Ms. Battle.
Good evening. Good evening, Board Chair, Board members, and Superintendent Simmons. I have before you a recommendation to provide an everyday substitute to support our UVA schools. And an everyday substitute, everyday substitutes would actually report to our 5 UVA schools. Our UVA schools are Moore Elementary, Orris Elementary, Cowan Road Middle School, Griffin High School, and Atkinson Road Elementary School. And we've used this process in the past, and the benefit of this is to allow consistency for students as well as to ensure continuation of instructional practices in the absence of a teacher. We identified 5 substitutes, and those substitutes will report each day and accept an assignment at that school based on the needs of the principal and the students for that day. So I bring this recommendation to you to allow us to continue this partnership for the everyday substitute teachers to report to the UVA schools not to exceed $128,000 for the school year.
All right, board members, any questions? I entertain a motion then for substitutes for UVA schools.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by raising your hand. Be 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Battle. All right, we're moving on to item 11, our presentations and discussions. Mr. Jones gets to come back to us for our May monthly financial report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is our May financial report. Got 11 months in on this fiscal year. And Cody, I'm going to just do this since I'm standing up here. We normally focus on the yellow items, so over to your far left, $47.1 million general fund reserve at the end of May, $3.750 million for nutrition. And just as a reminder, that will come down a little bit as we make some of our year-end entries in the month of June, accrued payroll and items like that, where we carry the summer salaries for the staff or the teachers where they can continue to get paid in the summer. We have to pull that back into the FY24 budget year. General fund operating statement for the month of May, we had about $6.5 million in revenues in that top left yellow on 9.4 of expenses. So for the month, we had a deficit of $2.8 million, but for the year, we're still almost $3 million to the good. Again, that will change a little bit the next time I come into you as we make those year-end entries, but we're still, our goal here is to still be not over 5% in our budget categories. And in the fact that you all have approved the amended budget, we will change some of the budget over to the left on the next document to reflect what you approved tonight. All right, special revenue fund, again, top yellow is your revenues, bottom yellow is your expenses. We do have a few little drawdowns we need to do to catch up Title I over on the bottom left, but pretty much we're in line where we need to be. Again, those closeouts will happen. Some of our state grants close out June 30th. Some of our federal grants are September 30th. Nutrition fund for the month of May. So for the year through May, $7.4 million in revenues with $6.5 in expenses. So Mr. Wheeler's a little over $900,000 to the good right now. Again, we'll have his amended budget in there the next time we talk. He'll also have accrued salaries for nutrition workers, et cetera, that happens where they get paid during the summer. We'll pull back that into the year. And again, his revenue will be different in the month of June. He's doing summer feeding, et cetera, but we're not actually claiming at the schools because they're not eating on the regular way that we have through the year. So his revenue may not go up proportionally as his expense does. All right, page 5 is our investment register. Again, a 5.39 on the interest income is still outstanding. About $56 million in total revenues or total income that we're managing at a high interest rate. Most of that is SPLOST 6. And then our last item, another $1.1 million in SPLOST 6. So just we've gotten some clarity. We had, if you'll notice the month, we're into the last quarter of the year, and we were updating the board, the superintendent was, that we may be able to continue to collect, even though we've met the 50 million cap. Well, we've met the 50 million cap, and the first of that month has come in, and I've gotten no letter saying that we will not get 2 more months. So in theory, that should bring us 3 to 4 more million above the 50 million, for lack of a better way to say that. And then we will be set to go with SPLOST 7 in July for the collection month. So that's outstanding. I haven't heard anything to the contrary, so my assumption here is that will continue for 2 more months. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Okay. Board members, any questions?
I was just wondering if Mr. Jones intentionally omit the summary and highlight for those who are viewing and present about the revenues and expenditures where we are.
Summary highlight?
Yeah,
You talking about the second page of the big report?
first page. This one right here.
Yes, sir, let me see if you guys can see. We changed our, yes, sir, we changed our reporting probably a year ago, so we give the board two different packets, and we only show the amended one, the small one, and then the board receives a paper packet that's more detailed, it's maybe 12 pages long, 12 to 15. So we haven't typically had it up here. I'm glad to go over it. You want me to let me borrow your page right there? I can go over it.
Well, I just want the public to know where.
Yeah, let me see.
Where we are on revenues and expenditures.
So revenues, and this would have been on page 2 here, revenues are 91.96%. So we're 11 months through the year, so that's trending close to 12 months will be 100% through May, and that's compared to 92% last year. So we're a little bit less on the revenues, about 1% behind of last year on a percentage basis. Expenditures are 83.75%. Last year they were 76.99, so we're a little bit higher on the percentage, but again, that's still well below 100. So that's still trending, depending on which way you look at it, that's still positive. Our legal expenses for the month, April to May, was at $7,200. Special revenue, we're continuing to close out ESSER 3. Again, that will expire in September of this year. Capital projects, we had the top couple of expenditures were $810,000, which we spent on technology, about $48,000 for Memorial Stadium, $24,000 for safety and security, and about $5,000 for the Career Academy. Also a small amount for the transportation facility, as some of that's starting to ramp up. East Bloss was $1.148 million, and nutrition net revenues were a little over $900,000. Is that?
Thank you, sir.
Is that all right?
Sir, I do have people that ask those kind of questions.
I got you. Yes, sir. Thanks.
Board members, any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Jones. Our update on the gifted services.
Mr. Chair, normally Dr. Taylor would give this presentation, but we flipped a coin. I lost the bet, so I'll be giving the presentation.
Oh, you still on that, Doc?
Yes, sir. I'm
Okay.
yes, sir. But I will, if it's okay, I'll come to the
Sure.
podium.
Absolutely.
But within that bet, I do have the right to call upon Dr. Taylor with the questions that become too rigorous for me to answer. So having said that, Mr. Chair, thank you. Members of the board, as you know, we were given the task of establishing a gifted and talented task force. I'll give you more details about that. I will not get into, can we get that into slideshow mode? Thank you, sir. So, as you know, we have our non-negotiables, our focus areas, the steps to accountability, the mission and vision. Next slide, please. There we have our strategic plan on a page. Next slide, please. So I want to give you some backdrop, and the purpose of the advisory council was basically to collect a group of stakeholders to help us understand the current state of affairs as related to our gifted practices. The intent was, and the outcome was, that this group was able to identify our areas of strength, areas of improvement, and then bring forth some recommendations for us to consider. So the task force consisted of at least one board member who was present persistently. Mr. McDonald, I want to thank you for not only your participation, but your engagement, because it's one thing to be present, it's another thing to be active and be present. So thank you for leading the way in that regard. But I won't read all of this information to you. What I want you to take is that there were a series of 4 meetings spanning from March through May. And again, what came out of that, we did understand and recognize what's going well. within our gifted and talented program. We also recognized some opportunities to improve, but more importantly, the task force was able to come up with some recommendations. There were 5 key findings. I've listed all 5 of those. I won't read them to you. The gist of it is one of the current problems of practice is that we are unable currently to maximize funding. And having heard just recently from Mr. Jones, funding or revenue is how we operate, and the way that we currently operate in terms of being able to present or account for all of our gifted students does not afford us the opportunity to receive maximum funding in that regard. So that is going to be an area of improvement that we will take on moving forward. Let me get you back to, oh wait, you move fast, real fast. Yeah. So key area 2, finding 2, was the enrollment. One of the things that we discovered in this process is that we have a large percentage of our students who enter into our school program, particularly the gifted program in pre-K or kindergarten, but they do not remain with the school system throughout their academic years. We see that as an opportunity to improve in the middle years. Said differently, what is it about our elementary and our high school that appears to meet the needs of our students, but something may be missing, lacking, or in need relative to the middle years? And so that's another key finding that the task force identified. The third finding in that regard was student performance. You may not necessarily see it, but unfortunately, not all of our students who are at the highest levels of cognitive ability performing at that level. And so what you see here is roughly 20% of our students are performing below grade level on the Georgia Milestones assessments. And so again, we're trying to identify if it's the environment, if it's the curriculum, if it's a combination of the two. Do we need to provide more supports? What is it that's causing 20% of our gifted population to perform below grade level? That is a serious concern. It requires a sense of urgency, and we'll begin to work on that as well. Key finding number 4 is the curriculum and instruction. Currently, we do not have a guaranteed and viable gifted curriculum for Tier 1 instruction. Said differently, there is no codified manner in which we provide the curriculum. So again, that may be part of the problem for the 20% who are not performing at grade level. It may be, an opportunity for us to improve students who are performing above grade level. But what you've heard me say time and time again, Tier 1 instruction, the level of instruction that we provide to all of our students, be it gifted or non-gifted, has to be at the highest level of rigor. And right now, in the absence of a codified curriculum, we struggle to do that, particularly with this population of students. And lastly, we've acknowledged the need or the absence of supervision and leadership at the enrichment center. So you may or may not know this, but in every school and in every other program, there is a leadership and supervision structure. Unfortunately, at Program Challenge, there is not. And what that often leads to is confusion, or we miss the opportunity to develop traction by having, again, this consensus of energy and a codified vision. So those are the key findings. Board members, last week, you received a 4-page document that listed a bunch of information. Those 5 findings that are in this presentation are also represented on that particular document. What I want to do is share with you briefly what we're intending to do moving forward. So, a couple of takeaways. This is going to be a long-term effort. This is not going to be an overnight fix. You and I know that Program Challenge or the Enrichment Center, whichever your preferred label, has been in existence for a long time. Okay, and because of that duration of existence, it's going to require some time to correct some of the areas that are in need of improvement, but also make sure that we can identify the high leverage opportunities. And so listed on the screen before you, we want to make sure that we acknowledge the work of the task force. So the things that we will do moving forward will encompass all of the 5 key finding areas. We will also figure out a way to maintain the enrollment for our students who have traditionally exited the school system, but more importantly, high leverage and sustainable or low-cost efforts is where we will build and scaffold our way. Next slide, please. So, in year 1, first things first, it all starts with leadership. So part of the next or immediate actions will be to identify and appoint a site coordinator for the program challenge to serve as a liaison. I think that will improve and increase the level of communication between what's happening in the program with the base schools and with families. I think that's a necessary process in order for us to gain some traction and momentum and make sure that there is a degree of clarity around what people can expect from the program and what the program is designed to do with those students. Secondly, we'll go back. Secondly, we're going to add some endorsed teachers at every building so that we can, again, capture the essence of the needs of students, whether they are at PC or in their base school. And I'm not going to read all of this to you, but what you should see next year is an effort to address some of the things that we've already discussed or touched on the previous 10 slides. Next slide. So, we believe that in the absence of communication about expectations, who to see about what, or what to expect, there are opportunities for us to continue to slip or digress. We're going to improve the communication with families about the advanced learning opportunities for all students in Griffin-Spalding, as well as continue to work on a policy that articulates how we will support students who are not performing at grade level and what the expectation from the school system and families would be as we get back to conducting a review as it relates to our gifted performance. So here's what I want you to take. We recognize the history and the legacy of Program Challenge / the Enrichment Center. What we also need to acknowledge, however, is that we must meet its intentions when it was established. And to have a center in which students who are designed to perform at the highest level, not performing at grade level, there is an issue there. And we're going to identify that issue. We are going to confront that issue. But it is important to recognize, while we appreciate the experiences that most families can recall as it relates to attending or having their children attend Program Challenge or the Enrichment Center, it still gets down to outcomes and performance. So we want to maintain and improve upon the experiences, but we also want to see outcomes and performances that rival that level of experience. That's the key takeaway, and that's what we've learned from the task force. And with that, Mr. Chair, members of the board, that concludes my portion of the presentation. I will field any questions that you may have, or I will divert them to Dr. Taylor.
Questions, board members?
Yes, I got one.
Mr. Holmes?
I'm curious about Dr. Simmons and Ms. McDonald, since you work on that committee. What were the discussion? How were they received as far as the students performing below grade level? And you know, traditionally, students that went to Program Challenge, once they fell below that expected performance level, they were no longer allowed to be in the program. And I think what we're doing, we're still fostering those kids, keeping them in the program. What was the discussion about that piece, about the performance level? Yeah, you.
Well, number one, Mr. Holmes, thank you for the question. And secondly, I just wanted to say that I felt like the committee did a lot of hard work, a lot of good work, And I want the public to know, and I think everyone in this room knows, when you make changes for the better, it doesn't happen overnight. And this is not going to happen overnight. But I can tell you, GSCS is committed to making the product at the other end be the best it can be. And I also wanted to publicly I thanked her at our last session, and Dr. Taylor and her group. You know, every meeting I went to, I always walk into a room with an open heart and an open mind. And every meeting I went to, I walked in that room with an open heart and an open mind. We had a community there of leaders, teachers, and parents. A lot of great ideas, and they went through a lot of data. We had homework in those meetings that Dr. Taylor gave our groups. And we did find out that students are not performing as they should. And that's new to me, that children weren't allowed to remain in the program. But I know you're older than me, so no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, there's a lot of nuts and bolts, and we read student surveys. But I can tell you, Dr. Taylor and her group and this system is committed to, when you find out how many dollars you're losing by not doing just the little nuances to get the funding from the state, I mean, that in and of itself it's a lot of money. I think you just said $2 million, I believe, $2 million. So we went through this last exercise, or I think our meeting before last, where what were my ones, twos, and threes? Did we do it color? Is that the way we did the dots? And it was interesting around the room to see that we pretty much were all on the same page. We know what needs to be fixed. We've just got to fix it. But you can't, like I said, you can't do it overnight. There's a lot of nuts and bolts. However, I know I talked with Dr. Simmons yesterday about this. One of the teachers at PC building today, this year, and has been there many years, Amy Brown, said, please get us a bus driver. And that was instrumental on my list, because they used to have their own bus driver who would pick children up at their respective schools, get them to PC, get them back to their respective schools on time. And because kids right now are losing a lot of teaching time because they're late picking up, they're late getting back, and I think that's where we really need to start, and I hope that we do that, because a child can't learn if they're not there. And it disrupts their day. It disrupts the teachers that come prepared every day to teach those children. But this is doable, and I'm proud to sit here and know that we have the commitment to do that. I know that I'm committed to do that because our children deserve that. Our community deserves that. And I implore the system to continually communicate with our community and our parents, because as a former teacher myself, my kids help me make so many decisions every period in my own room. When you turn it over to those that can bring great ideas, great things happen on the other end. So it was a great experience, and I just wanted to say thank you again, Dr. Taylor. Thank you, Dr. Simmons.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Cook?
Mr. Chair, as a former teacher of the gifted program, it makes me proud that you all have come together as a committee and have worked so diligently on this. This has not been an easy task, but I commend you for having broad-based input and for the diligence and persistence that you have shown throughout this process. And we owe it to all of our students to be the best that they can be. So I'm really excited about the future of the gifted program and what we plan to do in the future. So thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Battle, could you write a job description for a PC bus driver? Thanks. Just kidding.
We'll make it happen.
So,
get a CDL.
just so I am clear, in the fall, we're going to continue children going to the enrichment center, but we're also going to enhance similar to, maybe not exactly, but similar to what we were doing with the pilot program within the schools, and encourage our teachers to get the certification that they need so that we can utilize that going forward.
That is correct. Yeah. Yes.
And which is incredible. I want to publicly thank all of the children and all of the families that went through the pilot program that altered their second semester or this last part of their year for at program challenge, to help this committee gather the information that was needed and help us see how we could best serve our students. And so we owe a debt of gratitude to them for the shift that they were willing to make for us. Whether they were willing or had to, either way they did.
Correct.
Thank you.
It was interesting, our last meeting, I believe we got to see the survey results from, you only had the students back then in our last meeting, and I think the parents had 2 or 3 more days to continue filling out the survey, but the students were quite vocal and quite honest with regard to they just want to still go to the PC building, and we can do that because I wasn't a gifted teacher, but they just need that, I think. And it was pretty clear on the surveys that they want to continue that, to be able to go to the center, because I think there's worth in both. We just got to find the middle ground to make that worthy of their home school, and then worthy of to continue to use the PC center.
Awesome. Anyone else? Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Board members, you have 3 informational items: the GSCS paid parental leave policy update, the monthly facilities and maintenance report, and the construction renovation progress summary. So if you have any questions about those, make sure that you inquire.
I had a question about something that was in our packets, but we didn't talk about.
Sure.
The spur staffing, that was in our packet, but it wasn't on the green agenda. Did I miss something?
That was in the consent agenda.
Oh, was it? Okay, because it says, okay, all right. Thank you.
Because that was a renewal of what we have done in the past.
Would it be prudent for me to ask a question about that?
Sure.
Ms. Battle, I may have just forgotten the expense with regard to this. Was that pretty true last year, the $2 million?
And that expense included teacher vacant positions. So about $1 million of that actually was contributed to non-field teacher allotments. So what that means is we had some long-term substitutes filling in for the full school year. They would have been allotted teaching positions. So the cost for the actual sub work is more like $1 million.
Okay.
But that included those unfilled allotments as well as the substitutes coming and going day in and day out.
Okay. Thank you, and I'm sorry I missed this, Mr. Doss. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Problem. All right. Governance team's comments. We'll start with Mr. Holmes over there.
Thank you, Mr. Doss. For me tonight, it was just everything is important that we do, but this piece that we did for Daddy Lacey, I'm just honored to be a school board member, to be on this board, to have that in my repertoire, to say that I can say all over the state, wherever I go, that you know, I had a piece in acknowledging Dr. Lacey before he transitioned to that other side of pastoralship, and that means so much to a lot of us that know him. And I thank once again this board, this leadership, for us doing that, because we didn't have to do it. And it was something that we thought was important. So I'm glad you hung around where we can do some pictures afterwards this meeting.
Ms. McDonald?
I'm honored because I made a new friend. I mean, it's just such an honor to be here and to know some of your history, because I'm not from Griffin. And anytime that I can learn more about my own community that I serve, it's a win-win for me. And again, thank you for your service to our community. Thank you for your service to your parishioners. Thank you for your service to our students and our families, because without community, we ain't got it. So thank you, and I'll be in touch, okay, about lunch. Okay, thank you.
Let's go.
The highlight of the evening has been honoring Reverend Lacey. Thank you so much for your presence, for your support, for your commitment to this community. You have made a significant impact on this community, and we wish you very well in your retirement, a much-needed rest. We expect to continue to hear great things from you because I know you'll always be committed to this community and know that you always have a port called home in Griffin. Also, the budget was an amazing accomplishment. Thank you for all of your efforts to do that. As a committee, we came together and vetted it and tried to take care of all the needs of the system through this budget. So, Mr. Jones, thank you and your staff for all that you have done. And thanks again to the Gifted Committee. You all did an amazing job coming together and vetting all of the issues with broad-based input, and that's what democracy is all about. We want to get input from all of our key stakeholders and do the right thing for our students. So thank you very much.
Dr. Simmons?
Thank you, sir. As it's already been said, Dr. Lacey, I will simply say thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your fellowship. Thank you for the prayers when I was too tired to pray for myself. Thank you. I mean that sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. To the staff, thank you. We are entering yet the start of the opening of school year, even though it feels like we just graduated. And so I know that you all are weary. I know that you're tired, but do know that I appreciate you more than I tell you. So thank you for the work and the leadership that you provide to this board. Thank you for today. Today was a good day for Griffin-Spalding, for the school system, for this governance team. We got some important work done. We loved on some important people. But we also demonstrated the work that we've been challenged and called to do, and I think we did it efficiently. And I'm proud to be with you this evening. It was a good day, so thank you.
I too would like to thank Dr. Simmons and all of the staff that are here. When I left our last workshop, I haven't felt as good as I felt about the reports that were given as I did that day in quite some time. And that is just showing the work, the hard work that you have been doing to help change things in our system. And very appreciative, Dr. Simmons, the task that we gave you to find a way to keep teachers wanting to stay in our classrooms. You did that. Obviously, we want to be able to help everybody, but right now we got to take care of those teachers that are in the classroom. I'm just very, very thankful. I know we still have a ways to go, but I think you ought to take the day off tomorrow, and I think you ought to work from home maybe on Thursday if you want to do that. So, board members, we do have a couple of items for executive session for discuss or deliberate on hiring of personnel and to discuss or vote on the disposal of property. So if I would entertain a motion to go into executive session, I have a motion by Ms. McDonald and a second.
Do we need two motions for two different things or just
No,
one?
it's just,
Okay.
I'm listing the two names of
Okay.
why we're going into
All right,
executive
second.
session. So we have a second. All in favor signify by raising your hand before O. And are we going somewhere else, or are we staying in here, or?
We will stay in here. I'm sorry, Ms. Ray? We're going to go to A101? But before we do that, Mr. Chair, I let something get by me. You don't know this, but today is Miss Judy Battle's birthday. So if you would just, happy birthday, Ms.
Who's going to start the singing?
No, you don't have to say it.
It's not going to be me, I promise.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Miss Battle. Happy birthday
Thank you so much. Have a good night, and first will work Thursday. All righty. Bye-bye.
All right.
A101 from the board members, if you want to get a picture with Dr. Lacey.
Dr. Lacey.
Sounds like a bar, A101. Sounds like we're about to go on a trip.